Welcome to the hub where knowledge is key. Regal Learn and Hub, the best you'll see. From math to science.
Hello and welcome to this tutorial. In this discussion, we shall be looking at linear equations and inequalities, of course, in one variable. Before we proceed, make sure you click on the subscribe button, like and share. Now let us look at the figure on the screen. Can you identify it? Of course, that's a weighing balance. This was an instrument that was used in ancient Egypt for weighing objects. We shall illustrate how it was actually used in those days, and then we shall look at how it can help us understand the concepts of equations and inequalities. Let's look at a standard mass of 40 grams as shown on the screen. This was what normally used to happen. There used to be a standard mass, and that standard mass had to be placed on one of the pans. And then the items to be measured were then also carefully placed on the other pan. Once the balance leveled up, then automatically what is at the left pan and what is at the right pan were normally seen to be equal, and in that case the right measurement was made according to the standard mass used. So in this case we are using the 40 grams as our standard mass. And now let's place our standard mass 40 grams on the pan, as you can see on the screen. Now you see that it automatically tilts, but with the introduction of the unknown mass, you see that it starts leveling up until what is at the right hand side is equal to what is at the left hand side. So we introduce the first one, see that it shifts, then the second one, the third one, the fourth one. What do you see? It levels up. What this simply means is that the items at both sides of the pan are simply equal, and in that case what is at the right hand side is equal to what is at the left hand side. This was basically how the weighing balance was used in ancient Egypt. Today we have more sophisticated equipment for measuring masses, but that's not our focus. Let's look at how this particular instrument can help us understand equations and inequalities. So that you can see that what is at the other side is also 40 grams as shown on the screen. Now let's introduce items into both pans as shown on the screen. Now you see that they are all balanced up. We're not going to be so much concerned about their masses. Each item you see there is assumed to have the same mass as the other. So counting them, you realize that there are 10 items in both pans. Now we are going to play around with the 4 basic operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. Now what happens if I empty the other pan? I see that it tilts. So in other words, 10 becomes greater than 0 because the number of items here is simply greater than the emptiness that is found here. So we simply say the number of items here, 10, is greater than what? 0. If you rather move the items to the other side of the pan as shown on the screen, what happens? You see that this time this side is empty, and now here we have 10 items. And what it simply means is that 0 is less than 10. Now less than and greater than are all inequality signs. We shall be looking at less than or equal to and greater than or equal to soon as well. But in this introduction, let's focus on just the basic ones. Now, ensuring that we have equal masses in both pans, returning to the same value, 10 equal to 10, let's try and see if we can add 3 to both sides. What do you see? You get to realize that the weighing balance is still leveled up. there's no tilting. So in other words, adding to both sides does not cause the balance to change. Now you see that 13 is simply equal to 13. Initially, since there were 10 items in both pans. Now, this time, let's subtract 3 from both sides as shown on the screen. And now the number of items left in both pans is simply 7 as shown on the screen. What does this mean? It means that subtracting equal amounts from both sides does not change the balance. So once again, having the same number of items in both pans, if we this time decide to multiply the items there by 2, in other words, we are doubling whatever is in the pans. Once again, the weighing scale remain balanced as you can see on the screen. What does that mean? It simply means that multiplying both sides by the same number does not also change the balance. In other words, both sides remain equal. So 20 is simply equal to 20 as shown on the screen. This time, let us divide the items in both pans by 2. What do we have? We are simply going to have 5 left in both pans. Do you see the balance shifting? No. It still remains the same. So simply put, 5 is equal to 5 as shown on the screen. This simply means that dividing both sides by the same number does not also change the balance. Now let's look at the summary. Equality is maintained when you 1. Add equal amounts to both sides of the equation. 2. Multiply both sides by the same number. 3. Subtract equal amounts from both sides. 4. Divide both sides by the same divisor. With these principles in mind, when we start solving equations, always try to remember that this concept can equally be drawn from the use of the ancient weighing balance of Egypt. Thank you for your time. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Goodbye.